Hello everyone, I'm making this video to share my ideas for Modern Horizons 3 decks in Modern once the set is out. I watched a few other creators including Mengu, my second favorite streamer, and I wanna share my ideas with you. So first off we have Mono Red Eldrazi. This is an old deck that I think the main attraction to it was Eldrazi Obligator in the past. Like the hands with Eldrazi Temple are super strong, and the new cards we have with this set is It That Heralds the End and Eldrazi Linebreaker. I think It That Heralds the End is an okay enabler, I mean Lord in the rest of the deck, but this is the card I'm most excited about, Eldrazi Linebreaker. I think this effect is super powerful, especially if you ever like high roll with it on turn 2. It also like helps make your next threats very dangerous, giving them haste. Like basically this can come down as a turn 2 for 3 haste trample, and then for its subsequent turn it can give haste to Reshaper and Thought-Knot Seer, and it helps like grow Eldrazi Mimic or gets bigger with It That Heralds the End. I think this kind of strategy might be like good enough on the play. It will have like some issues on the draw, but I think the hands with Eldrazi Temple will be like so good that maybe it's worth trying. Sideboard will be adjusted, like since we don't know what the metagame is gonna be, so it's kind of whatever. I think this deck is kind of weak to Bowmaster, so I don't have like very high hopes for it, but I still think I need to try. Okay, so the second deck is also an old deck that used to be Ponza once upon a time. Now I think you can still keep some of the disruptive cell, like Magus of the Moon, but it's mostly like an aggro that just tries to Kerven, hopefully Goldfish. So the new card from Modern Horizons 3 that I have on this deck is Laelia, the Blade Reforged. This card, I think it has like a few nice interactions with this deck that can make it like really big. So it reads whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Laelia, and it has haste, and whenever it attacks you can trigger like exile your top card of your library, and then it becomes a 3/3. But there are also a few ways that you can activate the +1/+1 counter ability when you're playing this deck. So Scavenging Ooze is one way. You can make your Scavenging Ooze bigger, and that will also trigger Laelia. And then you have the Cascade abilities from Shardless Agent and Bloodbraid Elf. So whenever you cascade and you have like a Laelia in play, for each card you cascade, you will trigger Laelia once. So even though this is kind of a fair thing to be doing, just like cascading into another creature and just like spamming the board with creatures and being aggressive, there's a like very high potential with Laelia to get like super big, and you start with turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Laelia, like turn 3 Bloodbraid Elf. I think it might get there, so I wanna try this deck. I also have like some Ren 6, and there's like a few lands you can grab. like cycle Ketria Triome, spam Bosheizu, or the Sorkenzan in case you start flooding. Yeah, sideboard. I kind of like Chandra in this deck. Also, is okay with Laelia. But yeah, like we'll see. Okay, so the third deck I have is Mono Blue Eldrazi. I was inspired by P. Monty's Twitter post about Dress Down and Null Drifter. I think that's so powerful. It's so far like this feels so good. So I made a deck that I'm trying a bunch of things in this one. I have no idea how that will turn out, but there's like a few neat interactions. So you also so this deck actually utilizes, except Eldrazi Temple, of course, it utilizes Ugin's Labyrinth. I have enough like expensive Eldrazi that you can reliably use the imprint, and you can also like search for it, search for the temple and the labyrinth, like making a really consistent like ancient tomb in some sort of way. And then you have cards like Serum Powder, which means like whenever you don't have a very powerful hand, you can just like mulligan aggressively and look for it. And I also thought like even if you end up drawing this card, it's actually not that bad in this deck, because you want to curve to your big stuff. So playing a rock on 3, especially when you have like Labyrinth and you can do it on 2, it's not that terrible. Another card that's interesting is Eternal Scourge. So there's a few ways you can exile this, like except just playing and then it triggers and dies and you can replay it again. Except that way there's like also Devourer of Destiny. It says you may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do at the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library and exile the rest. So the plan is I will put like probably a good land on top of my deck, or something that fills my curve, and then I exile the rest, and if I hit a Scourge, then I have one more threat that I can replay for the rest of the game. And this is kind of important because there's like not much stuff to do between like your early and your late game, and also you can sacrifice Scourge to play your Elder Deep Fiend for a lower cost, which is very important. Like once you get to the Elder Deep Fiend, like it's kind of like time walking your opponent. This card is very good. Dress Down also like disrupts your opponent in many occasions, but yes, of course, lets you do Null Drifter, and you have to play some removal. So Dismember, like when you play this deck, this kind of like Eldrazi decks, you don't have much removal, and I'm doing mono blue, so you don't have any access. So I think Dismember like fits perfectly. I really don't know if this deck is like good enough or not, and maybe you just probably have to splash green to get access to the let me check the name of it, to get access to the Sowing Mycospawn, which is a very powerful card. I'm playing Thought-Knots here for now. I think it's still good enough, and yeah, like I have no idea about this one. Like maybe it's really good, maybe it's really average. Okay, so the next deck is Rakdos Phoenix. So the new card we got here is Buried Alive. So Buried Alive, you can, we know this combo from Legacy, like you do like Dark Ritual, Buried Alive, like plus one more spell, and you can return the Arclight Phoenixes from your graveyard like immediately. In this deck, like you can't like do it very early, but turn 3 you can easily set up for it, I think, if you have the Buried Alive, because you can You can play Faithful Salvaging, or a new card from the latest standard set, which is Highway Robbery. You can like plot this card on turn 2, and then turn 3 you do something like Buried Alive, Highway Robbery, cast a Lava Dart if you discarded it, or a Gutshot if you have it in hand, or a Mana Morphose before you do any of this. So there's like a few ways to do 3 spells on turn 3 and then get 3 Phoenixes back. And I have like 2 more cards just in case, you want to throw something else to the graveyard. So Demilits, if you play too many spells, you can replay this. I have like 2 blue sources in order to do that, I think. So there's a way to still cast this if you really need to. And then Kroxa, just like when you don't really go for many spells and you just have like a field graveyard thing, you can Kroxa. And then other than that, like there's not much disruption and you have to be super fast. Like you can bury your opponent, and I think the idea is like turn 3 you go for Phoenixes, and like turn 4 you try to kill them. Like that's like 18 damage plus, you know, all the burn that you can do with bolts, darts, like whatever. So yeah, sideboard. I think the interesting thing is like empty the warrens, because your opponents will probably do some kind of sideboard hate, and you sideboard into like empty the warrens, and you know they play a more defensive game, and then you just like start playing like useless spells, and then you just play empty the warrens, and it's like they probably are not doing, you know, both a plan to stop your graveyard and a plan to stop like a mass of creatures. So yeah, I like this idea. I don't think this deck. I think this deck is like one dimensional. Like it's easy to stop, especially post board. So I'm not super high on it, but we've seen it be okay in the past. So okay, the deck that I'm most excited about is Boros Convoke. So I saw Medvedev, Magic Online Grider, like trying this deck to medium success. He was running like Voldar and Epicure and the Bushwalker, which I'm not, because I'm running 2 new cards in their place: Guide of Souls and Amped Raptor. I think those cards fit the deck super well. So Guide of Souls kind of gives you another win condition when you can like haste with everything, and it gives you a lot of energy. So Amped Raptor will like hit something from the top of your deck, and then you have 2 creatures. So it's like a free creature, which is what you want to do, and then it attacks very nicely with the Bushwalker and everything. I don't like Venerate Loxodon. I think it's too slow. I'd rather have just like Night Errant of Eos, and then these cards are actually very easy to activate. The Glyphal Demolition, Kuldotha Rebirth, like you have the Ornithopters, Memnites, Novice Inspectors, and Thraben Inspector. And I'm not entirely sure, but maybe you might even be able to, like when you cast Amped Raptor, like and you hit a Glyphal Demolition or something. Kuldotha Rebirth, maybe you can cast for free without even sacrificing an artifact. But I think this is super fast. Like we've seen this deck be super good in Standard and Pioneer, and in this format we actually like can go even faster because of the 0 mana artifacts, and we have one more Glyphal Divination effect in Kuldotha Rebirth. So I really wanna test this and see if there's like a consistent kill that you can do on turn like 3 or 4. Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited about this one. For the sideboard, I'm doing like Galvanic Discharge. Like we have the energy thing going on. Like obviously, like Guide of Souls can like make use of the energy, but when you really wanted to kill something, like you can just play this card. and then Wheel of Potential, because you empty your hand super quickly. When you do this kind of effect, it's a way to refill against like a mass removal or whatever, because your hand's gonna be like one or two cards, while your opponent's hand will still be full at that point in the game, like by turn 3 or 4. So I want to try this card against like grind decks, against like mid-range control decks, because we can refill our hand and our opponents like might be inclined not to.